The Justice Department has released new footage and a memo firmly stating that there is no Epstein client list and confirming his death as a suicide. Breaking news today.
Hello and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
If you raise doubts, you're labeled a conspiracy theorist. Recall that these are the same agencies that promised transparency regarding Epstein only to later shut the door with nothing resolved, no client list, no evidence of blackmail, only official memos, and closed doors. MSNBC reports that, despite earlier provocations, Trump officials have stumbled amidst theories linking them to Epstein. Perhaps the real scandal is how power shields itself, regardless of who is in power. Let's do this.
Playing stuff. The TV apparently is battery powered, and it runs a constant loop of video clips of Trump doing his signature dance where he looks like he's doing something rude with each hand. And these clips that play on a loop on this sculpture, they include a little squib of video of Trump kind of doing that dance at a party with the late millionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, to whom President Donald Trump was in fact a friend.
This focus on out-of-context footage, particularly the attempts to associate the president with Jeffrey Epstein, aims to captivate the public with sensationalism rather than address the real challenges American families face. It's often overlooked that the previous administration under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did not fulfill their promises of transparency regarding the Epstein case. Now, with Republican leadership, the Justice Department has released a memo along with new surveillance footage, clearly stating there was no client list, no blackmail archive, and no further charges pending. This level of transparency was never achieved by the Democrats, yet the mainstream media continues to ignore this progress, preferring instead to perpetuate conspiracy theories. The reality is that this type of public art focuses more on stirring outrage than fostering free expression. The art installation on the National Mall, featuring a gold-framed television looping video clips of the president's signature dance, claims to be a bold protest. Our focus should be on rebuilding trust in our institutions and holding all leaders accountable, rather than perpetuating divisive narratives that benefit only those in power. The American public deserve more than this continuous cycle of manufactured outrage and partisan spectacle. Meanwhile, genuine threats like economic instability due to imprudent trade policies, a worsening public health crisis fueled by misinformation, and erratic foreign policy endangering American lives are relegated to the background.
Because for our sins, with everything else going on, with Trump today restarting the total economic chaos of random scattershot tariffs on every country in the world other than Russia, with the U.S. government in its infinite wisdom under Donald Trump, getting us back into the measles business, which we had basically eradicated, but now we've got the biggest measles outbreak we've had in more than 30 years, with President Trump saying he was, quote, not notified of the decision to cut off U.S. military support shipments to Ukraine.
Americans deserve more than the contrived panic and blame shifting that dominates much of our public dialogue. Now, with rising case numbers, critics hastily blame the current administration, disregarding the foundational issues of neglect and politicization that have fueled this crisis. These tariffs serve as a warning to nations that have exploited our open markets while shielding their own, signaling a critical moment for the United States to assert itself, despite the dismay of so-called experts and Wall Street elites. The true crisis lies not in tariffs or policy confusion, but in the entrenched interests, globalists, bureaucrats, and media allies, who benefit from maintaining the status quo at the cost of our sovereignty and security. It's evident that the most vocal opponents of these policies are those who previously endorsed harmful trade agreements, open borders, and continuous warfare. Concerns about public health, especially the resurgence of measles, also highlight the shortcomings of previous administrations, which the current critiques often overlook. While I believe the government should generally avoid micromanaging personal health decisions, the disarray caused by past mismanagement makes the path to recovery inherently complex. Both political parties, spurred by the defense industry, and their media supporters, are eager to maintain defense spending and military engagement. Under the Biden-Harris administration, misinformation proliferated. Trust in public health institutions eroded, and sensible border and vaccination policies were neglected. Regarding Ukraine, the inconsistency in arms shipments and official statements reflects deeper issues of entanglement in foreign conflicts, without clear benefits to American interests. The recent imposition of tariffs on nearly every country except Russia represents not the total economic chaos often reported by mainstream media, but a necessary adjustment to globalist trade policies that have undermined American industry and neglected working families.
years. I mean, this is the guy who Donald Trump appointed to be deputy director of the FBI.
I've already told you the Epstein story. Let's just say a friend who knows about...
This approach, exemplified in segments referencing a Trump-appointed deputy director of the FBI with supposed inside knowledge of the Epstein case, fuels public distrust and confusion. Despite detailed memos and surveillance footage from the Justice Department and FBI debunking the existence of an Epstein client list, a blackmail archive, and foul play in his death, MSNBC persists in using vague references and insider claims. This approach avoids confronting official findings that debunk sensational aspects of the Epstein saga and shields the network from inconvenient truths. This perpetuates conspiracy theories and undermines institutional credibility. The frequent use of out-of-context footage linking Trump to Epstein aims to keep the story alive in the public imagination, prioritizing spectacle over substance and distracting from more pressing national issues. The network's lack of balance is evident as it highlights Republican missteps while overlooking failures of the previous Democratic administration to provide transparency on the Epstein case. By clinging to narratives debunked by official investigations, MSNBC deepens the partisan divide and distracts from the urgent need for institutional reform and genuine accountability. MSNBC's coverage often relies on innuendo and selective fact-picking, substituting speculation and unnamed sources for concrete evidence, particularly in stories that could cast Republicans negatively. MSNBC's reliance on anonymous insiders and recycled talking points, rather than independent investigators or legal experts, further erodes the credibility of its reporting. While MSNBC taps into public skepticism about elite networks and government accountability, it squanders this potential by not applying the same critical lens to Democratic officials or globalist interests.
And he said, I'm out of here, Daddy-O. I told that story quite a few times, so I know a lot about this story. There are a lot of people who know old Jeff. A lot of people. So it's kind of weird, like this client list is about to come out. Everybody got quiet all of a sudden.
I know a lot about this story. Says the podcaster who Trump named to be deputy director of the FBI. Now today, knock, 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 FBI, what's up with that?
Foreign policy is no different, swinging wildly from one position to another. This pattern extends beyond a single scandal, reflecting a broader crisis of confidence in our institutions. For years, prominent officials have amplified these rumors, building public expectations that the truth would finally be exposed, only to later distance themselves from the theories they once promoted. Whether it's the sudden disappearance of a client list, the erratic nature of economic policy, or the mishandling of public health, the pattern is clear. Those in power protect their own interests while everyday Americans bear the consequences. This skepticism is further fueled by an official memo that abruptly declares the absence of any client list, blackmail archive, or pending charges after years of speculation and promises of exposure. The public is left to wonder whether entrenched interests are protecting themselves rather than serving the American people. When a client list suddenly goes silent and a former podcaster turned high-ranking official hints at insider knowledge, public skepticism towards the credibility of these investigations understandably grows. Both political parties have failed to deliver genuine transparency, with shifting narratives and a lack of accountability eroding trust not just in law enforcement, but across the entire system. The measles outbreak, for example, isn't just a health issue. This lack of coherent strategy not only confuses our allies, but also jeopardizes American resources and security, as Washington's so-called experts push for deeper international entanglements, ignoring the will of the American people. Additionally, the public health crisis continues to expose the failures of past leadership. Meanwhile, the so-called experts and Wall Street elites who criticize these policies rarely acknowledge how globalist trade deals have devastated American towns for decades. When families can't rely on clear, consistent information, they're left to fend for themselves, facing higher hospital bills, missed work, and community disruption. What connects these issues is a persistent refusal by the establishment to be transparent with the public. Imagine running a family business and trying to budget for the next year with such tariff uncertainty. The real story isn't the spectacle or the latest headline. It's the ongoing struggle for genuine accountability, economic security, and national sovereignty against a globalist agenda that has long neglected working families. Households are already feeling the pinch with rising prices at the grocery store, higher energy bills, and new challenges for small businesses just to keep the lights on. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Perhaps the real conspiracy is the urgency with which they want us to stop questioning. The Democrats and their media allies who have long shielded global elites are eager to bury this story. If you suspect the story doesn't end here, consider who benefits from concealing the truth. Because when the truth threatens those in power, both parties unite to protect their interests. The same institutions that failed to protect Jeffrey Epstein lost critical footage and overlooked every warning sign are now assuring us that everything is resolved. After all the noise, we are expected to simply accept the official story again. Interestingly, even some officials from the Trump administration are now parroting this narrative. This administration, under President Trump, champions transparency and accountability. The previous administration, led by Biden and Harris, mastered the art of evasion, protecting their allies and stifling inquiries. Be sure to comment below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's all of our jobs to keep them honest. Goodbye.